On March 17, 1942, John Wayne Gacy was born into an ordinary family in Chicago, Illinois. On the surface, his childhood seemed peaceful and uneventful, but in reality, the seeds of darkness had long been planted within him. Gacy's father was a violent and irritable alcoholic who was often verbally and physically abusive. Gacy grew up in this environment, filled with pain and depression. However, he learns to hide his emotions and outwardly acts courteous and popular. He excelled in school, was active in the community, and became a model boy. As an adult, Gacy married, had 2 sons, and ran a successful construction company. However, the darkness within him became too much to repress, and he began to develop a pathological desire for young men. In 1971, he was convicted of sexually assaulting 2 teenagers. However, due to good behavior, he was released less than 2 years later. On January 3, 1972, Gacy's first victim was the beginning of his nightmare. Gacy subdued McCoy using a technique called the handcuff trick, then brutally sexually assaulted and abused him before stabbing him to death. McCoy's blood spattered on the walls and floor of the room, and his screams echoed in the night, but no one could hear them. After his first crime, Gacy gradually systematized and perfected his methods. He would seek out targets in various public places, usually young, innocent, and gullible teenagers. He would lure his victims into his home, often under the pretext of a job offer or other inducement. He was filled with pleasure as he carried out his atrocities, as if he were performing a morbid ritual. The years 1976 through 1978 were the peak of the darkest and bloodiest period of Gacy's criminal career. During this time, he refined his killing methods even further. The number of victims increased dramatically, and the horror reached an extreme level. Gacy's basement gradually became a graveyard for bodies. He would set up everything in the basement and wait for his prey to take the bait. Once lured into Gacy's home, the victims were subjected to a nightmarish ordeal. Gacy uses the handcuff trick to subdue his victims, tying their hands behind their backs. He then brutally sexually assaulted and abused his victims, cutting their bodies with knives, strangling them with rope, or suffocating them with plastic bags over their heads. He killed at least 20 young males in just 2 years, becoming more brutal and bloody with each crime. On December 11, 1978, 15-year-old Robert Pister became Gacy's last victim. Pister's disappearance attracted a great deal of attention from the police, who eventually zeroed in on Gacy as a suspect. On December 21, 1978, as police raided Gacy's home, a serial murder case that had shocked the nation finally surfaced. Police found a large amount of victims' clothing and bodies in the basement, a discovery that shocked the entire neighborhood. After his arrest, Gacy confessed to his crimes during his interrogation, giving up all of his victims and the brutal course of his crimes. On February 6, 1979, Gacy's trial officially began at the Cook County Courthouse in Chicago, Illinois. The entire trial revealed the dark and twisted nature of Gacy's heart. Ultimately, the jury unanimously found Gacy guilty and sentenced him to death. While on death row, Gacy was remarkably peaceful and even began to paint. On May 10, 1994, Gacy was executed at the Statesville Correctional Center in Illinois. Before his execution, his last words were, "Kiss my ass," showing his contempt for the law and society. Gacy's crimes became a classic case in the study of serial killers, revealing the darkest side of human nature. His crimes not only brought great pain to his victims and their families, but also shocked and horrified the whole society. Gacy's name will forever be associated with horror and bloodshed, becoming one of the great infamies in criminal history.